Hey everyone, Shade Raven here. Funny thing happened on the way to creating this video. I had already done it once and had my microphone muted the entire time. The only time I didn't have it muted is when I paused to cough. So you would have had 12 minutes of listening to nothing except for a single cough. Yay! Alright, let's look at the drag and drop bard. Like the barbarian, I tried to have this to be an all-inclusive sort of character creation tool and character leveling tool. So let's just jump right in and see what Bard has, because it does have one caveat that is separate from the Barbarian in that it has spell casting, and that requires one small little tweak to have your character come out the way we want it to look. So come in, create a character. We see that the drag and drop Bard is loaded as a module, and we add an item. And we'll put in Prancy. So we got Prancy, the bard, about to be added in, and elf seems obvious. Let's have a prancing dwarf. That's probably not the greatest idea for a bard, but who says, you can't live a little differently? So this time we're going to go with a Death Warden dwarf. Again, none of this really matters. We're going to balance out the flaw of the charisma to that for the fun of this. We got a prancing dwarf, and he's going to be artistic, unlike some of the other dwarves in his area who are not so much into song and dance. He wants to prove that those stereotypes are unwarranted. Second, free of background ability, he does want to be light on his feet. Again, I'm not going to go too much into that. We've all seen character creation done with ancestry's backgrounds and all the different features added to that. What I want to do is get into the specifics for Bard. Again, you'll now see under the selecting a class, the Bard drag and drop class, which is going to have essentially the same information that you'll see in a regular Bard, except for I've added some automation in here to allow the character when it goes from first to 20th to have more information pulled in and added to the character sheet. Some of it is for the effects on the combat tab. Most of it though is about the actions tab, where you can see some of the different things that a bard is going to be able to do during the course of adventures. So we're going to add the Bard D&D, and you'll see the usual assortment of different muses that they're capable of grabbing. Warrior, this again, all of them essentially have their own different features added, but the net effect on how you're going to be using it when you're creating your character and leveling it up is going to be the same. So we'll just take Maestro for now. Now, with Maestro, it has a couple of things that differentiate it from the other muses, and you'll be able to see that when you pull up, when you look at the abilities tab. They get the bonus lingering composition feat that's added automatically to your character, which is just essentially adding another composition spell to your bard, and then the bonus spell, which is Soothe, added to Bard. And this is the one aspect, because the spell casting, this thing's a little bit different because it's embedded into that. I didn't want to have to create an extension to just get a drag and drop kind of mimic of the Bard that's already out there. So I'm not going to bother with that. You're going to see what you expect on the back page, including a couple of new features that comes with a drag and drop series. But you can see with the composition spells, you got the bonus feat adding lingering composition to your character, and the soothe spells added. The one thing that comes, because spellcasting is built in, there's a bard spellcasting uh, group that includes number of cantrips and the number of spells you got, charisma, the training, proficiency, all that type of stuff. That I'm leaving as is. So it's going to pull in and create this bard group. But because this is a bard D&D version, it wants to create a new spell group for this. But because I don't want to have to do an extension that gives you the cantrip information and all that in there, I'm going to just let this come in, and what you want to do is just come in here and get rid of the bar D&D spell group. That everything will be handled as normally in the Bard spell group here, where you can add your spells and cantrips and stuff as normal when you come to the spells tab and start looking for what occult spells you want to add to your character. So again, that'll be the usual that you expect with normal character creation, and you could come in here and say, well, I want chill touch and all that. Again, not that important. Everybody should be pretty familiar with that who's played even a little bit the Fantasy Grounds version of Pathfinder 2. So I want to stick mostly to what the Drag and Drop series adds. Now, one of the things you'll see down here is now Bard Innate features. This won't have anything at first because I didn't really think any of the kind of the core information that you find out here. Your composition, spell repertoire, and all that information. I could have added out here for people who wanted to refer to it, but I'm just going to do the things that end up being selected later that have actions or maybe have information that'll be good to know during the course of adventuring. But I would leave this in here because you probably will at some point add things in that will populate this. For now, it's kind of blank, but it will have a use in the future. So you get what you expect here. It'll populate the places that you want to see populated as you're creating your character and advancing in the levels, and that kind of aspect to the automation is what the Drag and Drop series is really gearing towards trying to attend to. So we'll go through and do kind of the free boosts. Again, doesn't really matter. We're just going to throw whatever in here. Say yes, I want my the base kit. That'll kind of all pop in laid in here, and you got kind of your base prancing dwarven barbarian going along to start. Now this is where you're going to start to see some of the differences as you go through and start leveling your characters. And the only thing that that really this attends to, at some point, maybe I'll have a general skills feats tab where it'll start putting new things into innate features. But for now, we're just going to focus in on the class stuff. So as you're leveling, you will get more and more feat options that'll start to populate the action side of your character, along with adding different abilities. And that's what I want to show that you're going to be getting in this. Again, I'm not going to worry too much about the skill feats. They're a separate thing, and maybe at some point we'll have some automation added to that. But for now, just want to look at the class stuff. So when you look at your class feats, you will see some drag and drop versions now that have automation in them. And this is the goal of this. In the meantime, for example, Bardic Lore, if you choose that, it won't add anything to the Actions tab, but it will give you the Bardic Lore trained on your Skills tab. It'll put in that new skill. A lot of these are composition spells that you'll be adding to your character. So like Hymn of Healing, if we were to select this, it doesn't actually hurt because we can cheat a little here and give as many feats we want at second level. But if we did that, it'll come through Hymn of Healing and Prancing. Let's look at here what combat abilities. Hymn of Healing adding a spell. Add Hymn of Healing. Why did that not go through? I'll have to look on that because all the other ones were working. Let's look at for him. Not in here. That's a good question. Not sure why that's Hymn of Healing is not in the Spells tab. So that would explain that. I'll take a look at that and maybe, not maybe, I'll probably update it to make sure that Hymn of Healing gets out there. So good to find these ones that are got aspects missing. When that gets added in, that'll take care of that. We did take Maestro, so if we wanted lingering composition and we added that, we'll now see lingering composition. Oh, that was for bonus. So yeah, I'm looking like I really know what I'm doing. But if that had been one that we didn't have, you could have gotten in there. Come to think of it as a bonus thing, probably never really would be selected, but that's neither here nor there. Wow, this is looking really informative, isn't it? Looking at martial performance, this is one of the ones because it adds something to your character that's a little bit different that you might want to keep track of. This is like one of those types that when we add it to, it'll come down and added abilities and stuff here. martial performance gives you trained in martial weapons, which adds to the uh, combat tab. So that's one of the things, one of the automations we added with that. So this is, the goal here. Reach spells is, one that you add. This would be one that would come in the innate features because you might want to know what you got when it comes to the abilities, and this shows you that for an extra action you can lead into like a soothe spell to add extra 30 feet. Other class feats, let's see, the versatile one, this one adds another innate feature that lets you reference it. So if I had chosen that one, you would then see down again in the Bard innate features a reference to what versatile performance does for you, which allows you to use uh, diplomacy to make an impression instead of diplomacy to make an impression to demoralize instead of using intimidation, since diplomacy maybe for most bards might be something they use more than intimidation, but yeah, to each their own. Maybe Prancy wants to bounce around and intimidate people while he's going. So again, that is the goal here. So you're going up, you'll have different ones that will continue to add to your composition spell list, add innate features, and continue to add automation to your character as you're leveling up. So as we go up and up and up in levels, you'll see more of these drag and drop series with automation associated to it, so that you can have it added to your character. So like a melodious spell has an action cost to it, so if you were to add that to your PC, you will now see under actions you'll have the melodious spell information there ready at hand. So, a little clumsy start on this, but hopefully you guys got a look at that. I'll take a peek and see what's going on with him. Once the initial version gets added to the Forge, I'll update it to make sure that the healing works with it. But otherwise, like the Barbarian, the goal is here to be able to use the drag and drop series to make creating characters, leveling up characters, and automating characters as easy as possible. I hope this is a good addition to any library, especially for those looking to play the Bard class, since it's contained just the information necessary for playing a Bard. And I'll look forward to talking to you guys all with the next one I come out with. Enjoy.